the Schmo with the pro, with the voice of the UFC, Mr. Jon Anik in the flesh. It's UFC 291, Salt Lake City. How we doing?
Much better now, Schmo. Much better now. It's great to see you. This is a highlight of my fight week, as you know, and I don't just say that because I'm here with you right now. Nice threads, bro.
We appreciate that, man. We just finished up the weigh-ins. Michel Pereira, he's overweight. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, man. Are we going to get this fight?
It's a great question. So we sit here right now, and we don't know if this fight is going to go on. So 174 pounds for Michel Pereira. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has been burned in the past taking a fight against a guy who has missed weight. So I do think there's some trepidation on the Wonderboy side. I feel for Pereira a little bit. I mean, this is a game of accountability. He screwed up the fight before the fight. But this guy has had this 5-fight winning streak at welterweight go completely under the radar. He finally gets his shot against a former world title challenger, number 7 in the world, and he screws up the fight before the fight. So I'm hoping somehow, some way, the fight can stay together, but not a good look for the Brazilian today, to be sure.
Now let's talk about the last time the Schmo and you did an interview, UFC 288 Newark. We're talking about why we haven't had the announcement of Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier 2. Right. Here we are. This is the main event, 5-round fight, BMF title on the line.
It's incredible. So we sort of intimated in our interview that we felt like that fight could headline on its own. I shared our interview in my story, and I can actually share with your audience. Dustin Poirier messaged me and was like, "What are you hearing?" I'm hearing nothing. I just know that Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier are two of the baddest motherfuckers on the roster. They can absolutely headline a pay-per-view without a belt on the line. So you and I were sort of promoting that fight as a 5-rounder, and obviously a few weeks later, the promotion agreed with us, I guess.
Well, here we are. This is a fight that sells itself. But talk to Schmo for a second. Is there a chance that the loser of this fight, knowing what's at stake, both these guys have had their opportunities at becoming the undisputed lightweight champion, they hang it up at the end of the night? The loser, that is.
It's a great question. I thought you had a great question at the press conference, too, yesterday, asking those guys how they would feel about the accomplishment of a BMF belt versus an interim championship. So it's hard to say, right? I mean, Justin Gaethje is 34 years of age. I don't believe he would stick around if he didn't see a path to the undisputed UFC lightweight championship. So if Justin Gaethje were to lose this fight on Saturday night, I wouldn't be surprised to see him hang up the gloves for good. I'm certainly not in the business of retiring fighters, and were Justin Gaethje to take one more fight, that could be a $1 million payday. So I understand that this is the prize fighting business as well. I think Poirier is less likely to retire. Call it informed speculation. I just know for Justin right now, the goal, the vision, the intent is clear, undisputed golden glory. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know that he's going to stick around all too much longer.
And we know we got Charles Oliveira against Islam Makhachev, the rematch in Abu Dhabi. You got Alexander Volkanovski wanting another crack at 155. Do you think that the winner of this fight automatically fights for a title next? Or do you think that there's still one more fight away from that?
No, I think they have to play the waiting game. I think they have to take a page out of the book of Bilal Muhammad. If you're all but guaranteed a title fight, you hold out as long as possible and you chase that ultimate goal, the undisputed UFC lightweight championship. I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys forcibly or otherwise sit for a year to preserve that title shot. And I just have to say, even though you didn't ask me, how about Charles Oliveira, right? Like, they announced that fight before this fight because Charles did so much with that Beneil Dariush fight that he made himself impossible to deny. So shout out to Du Bronx, and we'll see what he does with that second opportunity against Islam.
Du Bronx back on his winning ways. You brought up the name Bilal Muhammad. The Schmo must ask you this. He's here in Salt Lake City. We still do not have the announcement of Leon Edwards and Colby Covington. Is that a little strange to you, Mr. Anik?
Totally strange. I do believe Colby Covington and Leon Edwards will fight at Madison Square Garden in New York City in November. And it is weird, though, right? I mean, we all are trying to exercise our patience, but I don't understand for the life of me why that fight hasn't been announced. I do think Bilal Muhammad will be willing to sit idle for 18 months if need be. That is certainly what his team and his coaches and those close to him have recommended. You got guaranteed a title fight. You fought Gilbert Burns with no training camp on one wheel. You won the fight. You got to hold out.
Two legends of this sport are fighting on this card. We got Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. He's got abs, by the way, weighing in at 263.5. And Tony El Kakui Ferguson. Which one of these two men needs the victory the most?
Well, I think Tony Ferguson, because I think he's much longer for this game than Derrick Lewis, right? Tony Ferguson talks like a guy who's going to be around for several more years. I'm not sure if Derrick Lewis wants to stick around all that much longer. I think Tony Ferguson still has a healthier appetite for competition, and I'm just not sure how much Derrick Lewis wants to be here. Now, he could take great issue with those words, and we'll see how he performs against Peizao this weekend, but I believe Tony Ferguson has been a skosh more competitive than maybe the masses do. I thought he maybe won that first round against Michael Chandler, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him perform well. Looks to be in the shape of his life, not sucked out at all at 55. That said, Bobby Green, emotionally, mentally, physically, looks to be in the best place of his life. So I'm excited for that one.
Are you looking at the co-main event of this fight card? Alex Pereira against Jan Blachowicz, the clear-cut #1 contender for the light heavyweight strap.
Absolutely. One factor that we don't know is Yuri Prochazka's timeline, but it seems like he is going to be the A side of that light heavyweight championship equation when he returns, be it first quarter 2024, who knows. But Prochazka comes back and absolutely unequivocally fights the winner of this fight, Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. We still don't know what's going to happen in Sydney at UFC 293, which is fastly approaching. So it's not as though the winner of that fight could be thrust into UFC 293, but it's not crazy to think, right, that maybe you do Adesanya and the winner of Pereira and Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title since it's vacant in Sydney. You just never know.
So no Sean Strickland at UFC 293.
Well, Sean Strickland's the guy that I believe deserves the championship opportunity. He has repeatedly stepped up for the promotion, fighting Alex Pereira, fighting Nassourdini Mavov. But why the delay? You know, so a lot of people are inferring, perhaps wrongly, that the promotion doesn't have a healthy appetite for that fight. Sean Strickland deserves the championship opportunity right now, and Izzy wants that fight. So, but why haven't they made it? Maybe you know, I don't.
Schmo doesn't know, but Derrick Du Plessis, does he fight the winner of that middleweight strap, UFC 293?
Yeah, Derrick has positioned himself for a title fight. You finished Robert Whittaker inside of 10 minutes. You've earned that opportunity. But I think Du Plessis is wise to not just rush things. And if you're going to fight Israel Adesanya, you got to bring in the requisite training partners. You got to have the right type of training camp, and that's not going to be coming home. Dude, his hands were all swollen at the press conference. His foot's mangled. Like, you just can't fight Izzy under those conditions. So I think it's smart for Du Plessis, even though there is risk in foregoing a championship opportunity. I think he's making the right career decision.
Did Tom Aspinall last week in London make the right call out in the heavyweight division? Should have been a Sergey Pavlovich.
Well, that's the fight that I think a lot of people want to see is Tommy Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. But I think Michael Bisping was maybe trying to help direct that career a little bit as far as Tommy's concerned. Man, that dude is unbelievable to watch hit mitts, to watch compete. He's an absolute stud. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a betting favorite against a lot of these heavyweights, regardless of who his next matchup is against. But I'm okay with him biding his time, one more fight, and then probably a championship opportunity. And candidly, if you can avoid Pavlovich en route to the title, why not?
And to have that performance coming off that injury against that name speaks for itself.
Just incredible. And as I said on my podcast, we could have been having this conversation about Tom Aspinall a year ago. And to deal with that severe an injury and all the pressure that comes with coming back to the proving ground, the rehab, the recovery, and everything else, ice water in his veins, man. Like, some of these athletes are just totally immune to pressure, and Aspinall certainly qualifies.
Well, you made a name for yourself in this building last year. You're going to replicate it again. You're the voice of the UFC. Can we get a final message for all the Jon Anik fans out there worldwide?
Well, thank you, buddy. Obviously, this arena has a special place in my heart because of that Leon Edwards result, but I never think about what I'm going to say beforehand, so I don't know what we have in store for you this weekend, but I appreciate everybody supporting, obviously me, over 12 years in the UFC, supporting the Schmo and Helen and everybody else, and keep watching. We got a big one Saturday night.
He's the pro. I'm the Schmo, Salt Lake City. We're out.